Welcome back, everybody. This is Eric here with Iraq Veteran 8888. All right, today I have a very special guest here on the channel. He is a man that many of you know who he is, and this is going to be awesome. I cannot wait to get into this conversation. He's been serving Kentucky's 4th District since 2012. He attended MIT and graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering, as well as completing his Master of Science degree in Mechanical Engineering. He also reestablished the Second Amendment caucus in 2016. That's right. We're getting sassy with Massee, none other than Mr. Thomas Massee. How you doing today, Congressman?
I'm doing well. It's an honor to be on your show.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much for those kind words. I really enjoy what we do, and I appreciate your support, and I appreciate you making the time to come on here today and have a chat with me. And there's so many things going on, and gosh, where do we start, right?
Oh, man. Yeah, the Democrats pass a gun control bill in the House every week, and then they're going to try and ram this through the House before this weekend, I believe, because Congress is going to go on a kind of like July 4th recess early, which they are wont to do. But when they're trying to take your guns away, you actually want them on recess. But I'm afraid they're going to try to shove this through the House as soon as they shove it through the Senate.
Well, when a lot of these things get put through, they're really relying on that emotional response. They're relying on the newness of a tragedy in order to exploit it for their political purposes. And, one thing that I respect so much about you, Congressman, is that you're very logical, and you always try to bring, just this fierce logic to everything that you do. And you try to make these people see and hear, the voice, of wisdom and the voice of reason. It's very important.
Yeah. Let me give you an example of that. Democrats don't respond well to logic, but in the House, you may not know this, they passed a ban on magazines that hold more than 15 rounds. And that was just a couple weeks ago. Now, hopefully that's dead on arrival in the Senate. But during the debate, they said, well, this would stop shootings like the one that happened at Virginia Tech. And that's when I had to remind the chairman that the shooter at Virginia Tech had 17 magazines, and none of which held more than 15 rounds. And that the shooter at Columbine had 13 magazines. They were all 10-round magazines. And that what they are offering are unserious solutions, and that they won't solve the problems that that are the reason that they're passing the bill, or the ostensible reason they're saying they're passing the bill. Yet they're going to curtail Second Amendment rights and make it harder for people to defend themselves and their families.
Give us, if you will, Congressman, a brief synopsis of, what a 2A caucus deals with. So it's you and 13 other congressmen and congresswomen that work on this 2A caucus. And take us just briefly through an average meeting. What do y'all talk about? What goes on in those meetings?
Well, there's a caucus for everything up here in Congress. There's like a ready mix caucus, which is separate from the concrete caucus. And I thought, man, we need a Second Amendment caucus. So I reconstituted it. It had gone dormant. I did that about 6 years ago. This Congress, we did it a little bit different. I asked Lauren Boebert from Colorado to be my co-chair. And so now I have a co-chair of the Second Amendment caucus, which allows us to get even more done. And, some of these caucuses, they get together in a room, and it's just a bunch of congressmen trying to convince each other that they know something. And those are the most frustrating ones. So what we do is we invite people from the outside. We've invited speakers like John Lott and Dick Heller, and people who've been involved in shootings and been able to stop the shooting. And we get them to come in and talk to congressmen. So hopefully when the congressmen leave our meeting, they're smarter than when they came in. And that's a rare occurrence here in Washington, D.C. But I think we pull it off in the Second Amendment caucus. We also try to promote people's bills when they're doing the right thing. Andrew Clyde, who's a representative from Georgia, introduced a bill this week to eliminate the tax on ammunition and firearms. Can you imagine if there were a tax on the First Amendment? People would be apoplectic, especially reporters. They taxed your word processor or taxed your op-eds by the word. But yet we allow that to happen with guns and firearms, a basic right that's enshrined in the Constitution. So that's a bill that we promoted this week as sort of the Second Amendment caucus. And I do have to say one thing. We don't have a registry of members in our caucus. You know, we don't believe in registries, gun or people. And so we don't disclose how many people are in the caucus. One of the reasons I do this is because I'm afraid people would join the caucus, get their name on a list, and then go vote for a red flag law or vote for some kind of background check that would, you know, infringe on the rights of Americans, and then go to their constituents and say, oh, no, you don't understand. I'm pro 2A because I belong to the Second Amendment caucus. So I actually don't provide a service to burnish somebody's credentials. You just come to the Second Amendment caucus if you want to. There's no registry, and you can learn when you show up.
You know, I think education is first and foremost one of the most important things that we could possibly do to further our rights, to be ambassadors to the Second Amendment. So I'm really proud of what y'all are doing. You know, I'm sure that your door is open to even folks that are anti-gun within the both houses, right? So that houses of Congress, so they could come in and get educated if they want to. So how many on the other side of the aisle have come in and said, you know what, maybe I just misunderstand the Second Amendment, misunderstand where gun owners are coming from. Will you school me? So how many people have shown up and said, hey, you know what, I want to understand your world a little bit better?
Well, here's the interesting thing. I did have a Democrat on the floor, very liberal from California, don't want to say who he is, but come up and ask me to better understand where the people are coming from on, for instance, AR-15s. And I told him, I said, look, it's the most popular gun out there. What you all don't realize, this is also like an open source. This is the Linux of guns. You can take a part from a gun made by one manufacturer and use it in a gun made by another manufacturer, as long as it follows the AR-15 platform. Like I actually try to, if they're genuine, try to tell them the way people in rural Kentucky think, and basically Americans all over the country, and maybe even some of his constituents who don't come to his town halls, what they're thinking. But as far as coming to the Second Amendment caucus, we don't have any Democrats who come to that. I will say, though, that one thing that we've done is to train members on getting their concealed carry permit in Washington, D.C. That's a service that we provide, and I think it's really important. And a lot of members, again, I don't want to disclose numbers, have taken us up on that. And I can tell you that the trainer that I've hired has also trained Democrat members of Congress. So it's very interesting. You know, they may be coming after your guns, but they have bodyguards, and they are getting their permits here in D.C., some of them.
Yeah, I mean, even Dianne Feinstein has a carry permit, for God's sakes, right? I mean, hey, look, self-preservation is something that everyone should strive for. Now, where many of us take issue, of course, is the fact that these people want to take away our rights, but at the same time, you know, happily show right up and go, oh, I'm here for my carry permit, please. And oh, by the way, I'm going to choose my security detail now. And oh, by the way, they're going to be armed with all the guns that we don't want you to have. Don't we see an issue with that, right?
Yeah, here's the worn out line they use that you should never believe. They say, we don't want to take your guns away. And I challenged a reporter from Britain yesterday in a press conference that the Second Amendment caucus held. She said, well, nobody's talking about taking your guns away. And I said, what do you think the red flag law is? It's a gun confiscation thing. Just because this bill doesn't say it's going to take all the guns from all the people, it doesn't make it that it's not going to take your guns away. The bill takes all of the guns away from some of the people. And then with the things like magazine bans, that takes all of a certain kind of gun away from some people. So they're taking all of some guns from some people, and they're taking some guns from all people. It's like, just because they're not taking everybody's gun away doesn't give them a free pass to go out there and say, oh, we don't want to take your guns away. You absolutely do. And besides the Second Amendment caucus, the other thing that I would like your listeners to know about is that all of these gun bills start in a committee here in Congress, and it's called the Judiciary Committee. And I was able to get on that committee this year, even though I'm not a lawyer. It covers a lot of topics: drug crime, it covers the courts, it covers intellectual property, but it also covers the Second Amendment. And we have some great people on there. They're staunch supporters of the Second Amendment. I know I'll leave people out, but Ken Buck, Dan Bishop, Chip Roy, Matt Gaetz, all strong supporters of the Second Amendment. And most importantly, Jim Jordan is the ranking member. And when we get the majority, he's going to be the chairman. And so right now we're on defense in that committee, and we sort of offer amendments that tie the Democrats in knots when they try to push their gun bills, gun control bills through there. But maybe we can go on the offense when we get the majority.
That's awesome. I'm looking forward to that day, and I'm glad that we got such principled people in there. All right, I have prepared a few basic questions. We'll kind of go down and just have some fun with these. I think you'll enjoy these. What's one of your favorite guns?
Oh my gosh. Okay, this is an easy one, actually. I have an FAL that it was an Israeli heavy barrel, class 3. And it didn't quite fire right, so I bought all new parts and built it into with a 13-inch barrel, and it shoots .308, and it's just a fun gun. It's like a paratrooper. I put a folding stock on it. It's about the size of an Uzi, but it shoots .308 full auto, and there aren't many like it out there. I wanted to build something special, different. It kind of puts you in the mind of like an HK, but the great thing is you can get aftermarket parts for a platform like that. It used to be, that it was really the AR-15 platform was where you could get the parts, but now there are other manufacturers making parts for other guns that make it possible to build something really fun.
It's crazy how long the FAL has held on. It's been such a great gun, and the scars are out there. I mean, I love my scars, but I do have a special place in my heart for the FAL. It is the right arm of the free world. So what better rifle to protect freedom than an FAL? Great choice. I kind of figured that was where you were going to go, that or maybe an M60 or something. But I saw your Christmas photos with the family, the M60. I thought that was so cool.
Yeah, and everybody wants like a complete rundown on all the specifications of everything there. I'd be glad to give them to the pro Second Amendment people. But for everybody else, they need to know I had a boating accident after that Christmas picture.
You went there.
I got some grief because, they said, oh, you need to trick out that AR-15. You need to accessorize that. That's so plain. What they don't realize is an M16A1. It's not like it's basically a standard M16. It's got the most important accessory in my mind.
That's right. Auto sear.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to move on to the next question. This will be fun. If you could bring back one of our founding fathers to serve in either houses of Congress or either branch, in Congress, who would it be?
Oh, it would be Thomas Jefferson. That's pretty easy. He designed his own house. He was into, collecting rainwater and being self-sufficient. He was kind of a homesteader. And so I admire that he had other interests outside of politics, but he's my favorite founding father. I don't think there's a close second.
Excellent choice. And
I share a name with him.
Are a homesteader. You do all
Yes.
kinds of stuff, and you're one of the guys that actually kind of lit the spark in my mind to get into homesteading myself. So I actually have solar set up now. I have the maximum amount of solar panels that you can have in the state of Georgia legally. So I'm maxed out on solar. Okay, we've got gardens. In fact, this morning I was just watering my grapes and my blueberries, and I've got peach trees and apple trees, and my pear trees are kicking butt. So it's just like, it's so fun to nurture and take care of the land and have it provide things for you. And I think that's something that we should all strive to do more of, is to be custodians of the land that we have, and to make it work for us and produce for us. I just assembled my first flow hive, so I'm getting a nuke of honey bees soon. So it's going to be so cool to have bees on the property. I can't wait.
Man, I have peaches and apple trees and a couple pear trees, and I do all that. I have solar power. Now the problem and I live off the grid. I'm not connected to the grid, so the bane of my existence are batteries. My lead acid batteries went dead after 11 years. And I actually drove to Georgia and got a battery out of a wrecked Model S Tesla and drug it home, rewired it, programmed it, and it's been running my house for 4 years, this battery out of a wrecked Model S Tesla. So, I'm using a recycled car battery to run a house that's powered with solar panels. and raise grass-fed cattle who are roaming around the farm. And on my Twitter bio, I put, greenest member of Congress. Nobody has challenged that. Like, I've been fact-checked on a lot of things because they think they can get me and they never do, but nobody's tried to fact-check that one. And by the way, I have a Tesla. I have like serial number 3400 and something.
That was going to be my next question. I thought you drove a Tesla. That's cool.
Yeah, I reserved it 12 years ago, and I've been driving it for over 9 years. And when I come to Congress, I charge up with solar power in Kentucky. That gets me about 40% of the way. And then I top off with coal power in West Virginia to come the rest of the way to DC. And I took a picture of me charging with coal power in West Virginia. I've got Friends of Coal license plates. You can get these Friends of Coal license plates. I put them on my Tesla. And I thought I was being, true to my hashtag, which is Sassy with Massie. And I put a picture of my car charging there. What I didn't realize is my tags were expired. And quickly the internet discovered this and was trying to report me to Kentucky State Police and the DOT. And I didn't know if there'd be a roadblock by the time I got to Kentucky, because I quickly got my tags renewed once I got to Kentucky.
Yeah, they'd be out there on the side of the road with some like mobile electromagnetic pulse device, and you go,
yes,
and just slow down,
Yes.
Awesome. All right, we're going to move on to another question. And I think it's so awesome that you're involved so heavily in that homesteading stuff. Maybe in a future, piece of content, we can go more in detail with that. But I really think it's awesome that you're spreading that message to the community, because more people really need to take a serious look at being self-sufficient. It doesn't mean that you're some weird prepper type of person or whatever. Just, hey, there's nothing wrong with being prepared. I mean, you never know what could happen. Look at all the stuff that's going on. We've got this heat wave going on. You never know when you might be, holed up inside the house because of like COVID and all. So there's many reasons that somebody should be prepared.
It's the best insurance plan ever. And it's kind of like, if your politics are to be against central planning and to be for independent decisions, then why not live your life that way?
I agree. Okay. What are the best ways for citizens to best understand their civic duties and become more engaged in the political sphere?
I love this question. The best way, for instance, to petition your congressman is not to send a letter or an email. I would encourage you to call them. Believe it or not, there's more than likely somebody who works for the congressman who sees him every day is going to be answering that phone. And congressmen respond to input stimuli, just like my cattle. They know what an electric fence is. And when when a congressman or congresswoman, senses that the populace is turning against them on an issue, it will affect them. But phone calls are the best way to do that. Don't call people who you can't vote for. That's a wasted effort. If you thought you were going to sit down and call 10 congressmen and 5 senators today, don't do that. Call 1 congressman and 2 senators. That's how many you can vote for. And if you feel like making more calls, then wait a month and call the same people with the same message and be polite. Don't cuss out the intern, who's probably the one going to take the call. And because then they might not write your message down and give it to the congressman. And whatever you do, don't say, I'll never vote for you again if you don't do this. Like, that makes it easy for the congressman to cross your name off the list.
Excellent point. So boys and girls, there you go. Civics 101 with Thomas Massee, which he's definitely the guy you need to be listening to. My political, let's just say, education and what I've tried to, garner and learn from people like you over these years, it's come a lot from, I follow Thomas Sowell, I follow you, I follow Rand Paul. I'm a big fan of Ron Paul, of course. And so I consider myself, I suppose I'm a Republican, but more of I'm a Massian Republican, if you will.
There you go. The people up here, sometimes they hate me, not because I'm a Republican, but because I do what they campaigned on. Everybody that I know is a Republican campaigns on the Constitution and transparency and fiscal responsibility, pro-life, pro-Second Amendment. But they get here and a lot of them abandon those principles. But put your principles in front of your party. That's what I always do. And when you're looking for information about what's going on in Washington, D.C., I would encourage people to use more than one source. For instance, there are 3 or 4 gun groups. Why not subscribe to all of their newsletters? I mean, they're going to ask you for money every week, but they're also going to send you information that's free. And you can get 3 sources. When I was building my house, for instance, like I did all the plumbing myself. And I found out I didn't really trust one plumbing book, so I bought 2 plumbing books. But sometimes they would conflict. And so I realized I've got to buy 3 books on every topic in order to resolve the question of what should the slope on this pipe be, for instance.
Yeah, and then you got to buy 30 tools.
Yes. Well, you tell your wife you do. Oh, we need this tool. It'll work. It'll go so much faster.
Right.
Anyways, but get multiple sources. Don't rely on just any one source. Or if you have a favorite source, use a few backup sources. Especially if you're looking at the scorecards on different votes. Like, how is it possible that somebody, for instance, could have a 70 on Heritage and a 90 on FreedomWorks, or a 90 on Heritage and a 70 on FreedomWorks? Go look at what those different votes were and what they were scoring, and maybe you agree with one organization more than the other.
All right, we'll move on to another question. So when we had control of the ship, right, Trump's president, we had majorities in the House, the Senate. There were all these pro-gun bills that were put forth. Why is it that we didn't get any movement on anything? Why did we have a lame duck Congress in terms of pro-2A bills when we had control of the ship, if you will? And what the heck do we do about that?
Oh, there's a lot to unpack there. We could do an autopsy on Paul Ryan's speakership. He was horrible. He was worse than John Boehner. And a lot of the problem was that. We also had a chairman who really wasn't that good on the Second Amendment. He's the one who went to Donald Trump and said, please ban bump stocks because I don't want to have to put this through our committee. That's the Republicans doing that. And not just the chairman, but other Republicans. But instead of looking back, let's look forward. What are we going to be able to do with Joe Biden as president? He's obviously not going to want to sign any pro-gun legislation, and he won't do it. But we do have the power of the purse. And so we need to take every opportunity to use that. And the first thing we need to do is to quit passing these omnibus bills. If you put everything in one bill, then and it goes to Joe Biden's desk and he doesn't sign it, we may get blamed for the shutdown because there's so many things in that bill and he calls them unreasonable. But if we pass like a separate bill to fund NASA and a separate bill to fund the roads and a separate bill to fund the military, and we put those on Joe Biden's desk, well, if any one of those gets defunded, he gets the blame for it. And then when we get on the bill to fund the ATF, that's where you can put those riders in there that say none of the money hereby appropriated shall be used. And, you could put in whatever it is to pass a regulation on pistol braces. It won't have the effect of permanent law. You only get that with a presidential signature, but it would last the second 2 years of Joe Biden's presidency if you put it in a funding bill.
Think about Joe Blow America, who's balancing the checkbook. Maybe they're doing a budget, right? And just break this down to the tiny microcosm of everyday Americans, right? You wouldn't fill out your taxes and put, your car repairs in with your grocery bills, right? And just start throwing all this stuff in a giant hodgepodge of random things. No, I mean, the IRS is going to go, well, wait a minute, this doesn't belong here. So if we get scrutinized in that way, then why aren't we scrutinizing our spending in a way that we kind of hold these people's feet to the fire and go, we want to know exactly what money is going where, and we want to vote on whether or not we're going to, appropriate these expenditures for this purpose.
Yeah, let me say that same thing a different way. Every president that's ever taken power has wanted the line item veto because they know it makes you more powerful if you can go line by line and fund and defund things. Well, the line item veto actually passed Congress and the Supreme Court struck it down. So that's not going to happen. But I'm telling you that talking about the line item veto, because Congress already has the line item legislation. We should be doing this line by line. It would make us more powerful. And if there's a Democrat in the executive branch and Republicans control the legislative branch, why wouldn't Republicans want to make the legislative branch more powerful by going line by line? We should. It's that simple. So, we were talking about civic duty. When you get a chance, tell your congressman to quit putting all this crap in one bill and to separate it, and they'll be more powerful.
You heard it from the man himself. No more pork, y'all. I know we say pork, but they love their pork. All right. One last little question here. True or false? I thought this would be fun. True or false? Society would benefit greatly from less government interference in their daily lives.
Oh, that's such a tough one. You told me no tough questions. Look, true, absolutely true. You can talk about, are you Republican, are you Democrat, are you liberal, are you conservative? At the end of the day, my litmus test for a politician is, do you want to grow or shrink the size of government? Just pretty easy question. Because government takes over the things, it assumes your responsibility and your liberties when it grows, whether it's religious, whether it's First Amendment, Second Amendment, your paycheck. Anytime government gets bigger, you're assuming, if you want bigger government, you're assuming that people in Washington, D.C. can make decisions better than you can. You're assuming that they are more moral than you are, that their morality should be imparted on you. And this doesn't go just for the Second Amendment. We talked about homesteading and that sort of thing, but food freedom, for instance, this is another big issue for me. And occasionally I can find people on the other side of the aisle who realize that if we shrunk the size of government, the USDA, that they could get fresher food provided by a local farmer that's healthier for their family at a lower price. And all it takes
keeps Americans employed. It gives us more jobs, more things to do. You create more, more economy around the farming industry.
So it's like that for everything. And occasionally, like on issues with food, you can get Democrats to agree. And so that would be my take on it. And then, I got to throw this in there. The Joe Biden, I know it's topical and timely, and when somebody watches this 5 years from now, it might not make sense. But this week, Joe Biden is talking about a 3-month gas tax holiday. And I think it's ironic that here's a Democrat president. Who would have thought a Democrat president would want a tax subsidy for fossil fuel vehicles? But that's what we have. That's how bad the economy's gotten, that he's doing that. But Eric, it's like an arsonist who set your house on fire and it's blazing, and they come up with a small bucket of water and toss it on the house. The government did this when they started printing all the money. When the COVID stuff happened, I was the only person who came to DC, and even Donald Trump was mad at me at the time. The only person who came to DC and said, you have to vote on this in person. We should be on the record, and this is a bad idea. It's going to cause inflation and shortages. And I said that 2 years ago, and here we are today. It happened because you got bigger government. The $1,200 checks were the cheese in the trap. I hope you bought a nice gun with it that appreciated in value, but otherwise that money is gone, and now you're paying way more than $1,200 at the gas pump, and the corporations are doing just fine. So, maybe you think government's virtuous and all that other stuff, but look, there's lobbyists up here too that get what they want. So the bigger you grow government, the more influence those people have.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that, Mr. Massey, because I was very upset that the way that Trump treated you and the comments that he made about you, I disagree with. His assessment is incorrect. And, I'm very proud of you for taking a principled stance. And you and I met when I came up to Kentucky to cover the state rally. I interviewed you briefly on the channel, back then before COVID. So we've met before, right. But I appreciate you hanging out.
That was right before COVID, wasn't it? It was. We had Dick Heller at the state capitol of Kentucky. He came down.
We drank bourbon together, all of us.
Yes,
you and me and Dick.
Well, we can't disclose. Maybe I had iced tea, but anyways. By the way, Chip Roy is trying to convince me they make bourbon in Texas. I want everybody on the show to know that 95% of bourbon's made in Kentucky, and the other 5% is counterfeit. And you know that well because you've had it in country. You've had the real stuff.
Right.
But no, and by the way, Trump has since 2 years later endorsed me and said, you know, I know we had that thing in the past, but it's come full circle, and he gave me his full endorsement. But you know, when you feel passionately about something, you need to stand for it, especially if you're representing 750,000 people. It can't just be what you want. It has to be what's going to be best for them, not that day, but over time, what's going to be best.
That is a fact. Mr. Massee, thank you so much for being on the channel here with me today. I know you're a busy man. Get back to lighting those fires.
Yes.
And we will be supporting you all the way. And thank you so much for your time. Do you have any last thoughts you'd like to share with anyone before we head out?
Just that, you know, don't lose hope. I know you see this Senate bill coming over, and 14 Republicans have voted for it so far. There are people fighting here in Congress. Don't give up. Support the good guys. I know people want to replace all the bums and throw them all out and get new bums, but try to separate the good bums from the bad bums and support the good ones.
Spoken like a true scholar. Well, we've gotten sassy with Massee today, and thank you so much, Congressman. We will be in touch, and I'd love to have you back on as time allows, and maybe you'll have to come down and do some shooting with us sometime.
Oh, that sounds great, but you're buying the ammo.
You got it.
Okay, man.
All right, sir. Everybody have a great day. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you so much for watching, supporting our channel. Many more videos on the way. We'll see you soon.